was introduced to go-go music by you at Delaware State University.
Yeah, you wasn't
Using
introduced.
your feet in Memorial Hall. Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, you wasn't introduced.
So I just caught on, man.
Get out of
And
here.
I kept on going. With
I
it,
introduced you
okay?
to go-go, huh?
Absolutely.
Listen, true story.
Absolutely.
So true story. So I know when we first got to Del State. And I know this man from Del State. Well, we know him before we went to Del State. We went to Del State together. But I can't say her name right now because to protect the innocent out there. She's married now, so we're gonna definitely protect that. I was like, man, what's this go-go stuff? I was like, man, I ain't trying. We know from Delaware, I'm like this go-go. Give me some Philly, give me some beans, give me all that. And then I was like, man, I like this go-go. Then there was this girl who I liked, and the go-go was on. They played a little DC set with DJ Pat. Remember DJ Pat? DJ Pat was down there. He played a little go-go set. And this girl, she grabbed me. She had a little go-go. I'm like, all right, I'd come dance with you. I don't know how to dance to this. I don't want to beat my feet, whatever. So I get behind her. She grabs my pants right here and pulls me closer. I've been loving go-go ever since.
That's right.
Ever since. True story. I have not. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ticket of the World podcast. I know we're talking go-go, but right now we about to start politics. So my main man, introduce yourself for him.
I am Darius Brown, the Democratic candidate for Delaware State Senate here in the city of Wilmington. Blake, thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you.
Hey, listen, man. I appreciate you first. Don't give me all that. Look, I have known you a long time. Hold on, let me fix your microphone so I can see you, man. You know you're a superstar. We ain't gonna get all this. Listen, I know we're here to talk politics, but we ain't gonna talk politics.
No, we're going to talk about what's important to our community, and you are from our community, and you are a great example of what we need to do to invest in our young people in this generation to make sure they're successful, just like you.
Listen, this brother is a seasoned vet. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. Any other time I talk to him, he does not talk like this. He is a seasoned vet, and I appreciate that. But all jokes aside. Like you said, man, we grew up in this community right here in Wilmington, Delaware, and you were running for? The
Delaware State Senate, which includes the north side of Wilmington and also the northeast side, Riverside, Vanderver Avenue, the old Bucket, Village of Eastlake now.
Village of Eastlake, right.
And then it goes over to the east side to Macaulay Court, and then it goes all the way out Newcastle Avenue from Southbridge to Jefferson Farm. So all those folk we went to college with that lived and grew up in Oakmont and Garfield Park, lived in Simon's Gardens, lived in Castle Hills, Jefferson Farms, all those neighborhoods are a part of the Senate district. So, if I can get all my Del State folk to come out and vote on Thursday, September 6th, I won't have a problem.
Well, I know one thing about DSU. We need to get out there and support. Make sure y'all get out there and support D. Brown. But first and foremost, man, I appreciate you, running from the city, man. You give people hope, man. Like I said, you're a veteran in this game.
Well, I've been elected. I tried to serve well as a member of city council, but it's about the community. People think about my success in the context of being elected or the things I was able to do as an elected official. But man, I grew up right in Bethel Villa. You know what I mean? Like right across the street from the police station on 4th Street. And because
the hood in case you don't know the hood.
Yeah, BPD, baby.
East side, we out here.
Yeah. So, there are people that because of my success, they get it twisted. Like I've literally had people say, "Oh, you live in Greenville." I'm like, "No, I worked for a United States senator that lived in Greenville."
Right.
But my ass still went home,
right.
To Northeast Wilmington.
Right.
And so that's the difference. My heart is in my community. I've always been committed to it. And I'm committed to making sure that we make it better. I want to build Wakanda in the 2nd Senatorial District, and that means improving housing, that means jobs, that means improving education, and that means creating opportunity for people. Most of the people in our community, they don't have the exposure, they have not had the access to things that you and I have had. By going to Delaware State, we were able to go places and travel and be exposed to things, whether it was conferences or trainings or being in student government,
Absolutely.
And those things are things that our young people are not being exposed to, and that's why I'm running for the Delaware State Senate.
Well, listen, I was going to ask you why you're running for it, but you just gave me this speech, ladies and gentlemen. No, but definitely when we talk about exposure, that's why I tell people we have conversations all the time. We talk a lot. Like I said, I see Darius all the time, and we've done a lot of things together. And I remember when you first started running for city council, was it about 8 years ago?
Yeah,
your first one.
Yeah,
I think,
8 years.
No, I think it might have been.
Don't age me.
I'm not trying to age you.
It was 8 years.
It was 8 years ago. I know we did our first commercial. We did our first commercial together, man.
Yeah.
And you gave me the first opportunity. I know you was like, Blake, I need a video. I was like, He was like, how much it gonna cost me? I said, D, don't look, man. Don't worry about the money, man.
Right.
Just, like, this is what we're gonna do. I got you. Boom, boom, boom. Produced the first video to see where you came from to where you are now and where you're headed at. I wish you the best luck with that, man.
No,
and that's the end of the podcast. Thank you. No, I'm playing.
Absolutely.
No, I'm kidding, man. That's not the end of the podcast. We got dive
But this
into-
is the fun part
This is the fun
because it is really about how you create relationships.
Yeah.
You know, just like in our community, there are relationships we've established. You know, in Delaware, it's all about the high school you went to.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, if you didn't go to Howard, you know, shame on you. But you know,
Yeah,
you know,
I feel you.
yeah,
That was
I know
only
you.
black high school. I ain't mad at you.
I know you had.
You know,
some
I used to want to go to
challenges,
Howard. I ain't gonna say no names, but one of the basketball coaches, he thought I wasn't good. Right?
Yeah,
He thought I wasn't good. Like he said some things, and I said if I ever play Howard, I was gonna crush Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And we never got the opportunity to play Howard. Well, my freshman year, but I wasn't on varsity at the time.
right.
I said if I ever had the chance to
Right.
to play him, not Ghost, because Ghost taught me a lot. That goes to show you who the coach was. You know who it was.
I know. It was.
But he says, and I said, if I ever get a chance to play, I want to dominate them. So, and that's the only reason I didn't go to Howard. Because two of my best friends at the time, Big Said, Chad, they went to Howard, and I probably should have went to Howard too. But I said I didn't want to go because of that coach. So shout out to
okay.
Howard.
You made up for it at Del State. It's okay. It's all right.
I went to the black college instead of the black high school. I went to the black college.
Yeah.
Nah.
Some of us check both boxes,
Yeah.
but you did all right.
That-
But no, that is what's important because even in our community, and me growing up on the east side of Wilmington, you know, it was a different culture growing up. I mean, we literally had guys, and this is during the crack epidemic, that were doing what they were doing in our community, but they still had a moral fiber where they respected the seniors in our neighborhood. I mean, you could see them on America's Most Wanted, but they would still be saying yes, ma'am, and yes, sir to Mr. Johnson on the block. And in our community now, we need to get that moral fiber back into our young people and make those investments. Yes, that has to do with parenting. Yes, that has to do with schools and teachers, but it also has to do with just a sense of community where you actually say good morning to your neighbor and you care about the person that you live next door to. And those are values that we have walked away from in this, you know, technology, technological culture that we have where everybody's Facebooking and Instagramming. And, you know, I got 5,000 friends on Facebook. But I need campaign donations. So can I get $5 from every 5,000 friends on Facebook? That means, you know,
How much is that? $25,000.
that's $25,000, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, those are the kinds of things when we look at how we're interconnected and how we can leverage that, but also how we still have to have that intimacy and relationship. Because when I call you, you respond to me not because we're Facebook friends or on Instagram, but it's because of that personal relationship we've cultivated over the years.
Absolutely. So when it comes to that community involvement, creating that old time spirit within the community, how do you oppose we do that? How do we go about that?
So some of the things that I was able to do as a city council person, I want to continue to do is to invest in our community centers and into our neighborhood parks. I believe that those are two institutions that we have to make sure no longer become neglected and just underserved. So at H. Fletcher Brown Boys and Girls Club, we redid the gymnasium floor at H. Fletcher Brown. A couple years ago, there was a snowstorm and the copper was stolen out of the HVAC system.
remember that.
So we paid for the HVAC system to get fixed, and we put one downstairs. So you remember as a kid, we were playing in Storm and Classic, and it was a hot gym.
Hold on,
okay?
you played in Story
Listen,
Classics. You know how to-
everybody
you know how to play
played
ball.
Yeah, listen,
He was on the bench.
I was there.
He was on
Okay.
I might not have played, but I was there.
No, I played. I played. I didn't win no championship, but
Right.
but I was on the team. And so, like, for us, for me, it was important that we made those investments. When H. Fletcher Brown was built in the 70s until a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, they never had a new gymnasium floor. Think about that, man.
No,
You
I
know,
grew up at H. Fletcher Brown. Trust me.
Yeah, sliding up and down the basketball court.
If it wasn't for Browns Boys and Girls Club, I don't know how I would have made it. Honestly, that was always my safe haven. It's always where I went to. But I do have a question. So we talk about the Boys and Girls Club and those things. Who has control over the Boys and Girls Clubs now as far as the development? Because I think like now it's kind of it's when I went through it kind of shifted from what it used to be. I know back in the day it used to be, you know, you get a membership. Sometimes you'll get like somebody from around the way, one of the little you know what I mean, dudes on the block to purchase you a membership because they get a membership too. You like buy $20, it's a membership for the whole year, and it was everybody from the community. But now it seems like it's switched up, and I don't know if it was for a money thing because now it became our after school for not even after school, but darn.
Childcare.
Yeah, after school childcare.
So honestly, what has happened is that
Keep it real.
yeah, that's what I say. Honestly,
lie,
you know
yeah.
what has happened is, you know, these community centers operate. They're not for profit organizations, and so they have to operate off of funds, and you know, because they lack funds, then they look at other ways to provide service for the community, but also generate some funds to keep the doors open. And in many cases, daycares and early childhood centers allow them to generate revenue to keep the doors open. And so that's what H. Fletcher Brown has done and is what some other community centers have done. But they still provide all of the other supplemental stuff after school. Yeah. So the gymnasium's there, the swimming pool's there. I mean, think about how many community centers in the city of Wilmington have swimming pools. Not very many. But in the east side and northeast area, you have two. You got H. Fletcher Brown and you got the Walnut Street Y that both have swimming pools. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are private schools that take advantage of the swimming pools. There's a private trainer that actually brings his aquatic program to H. Fletcher Brown Boys and Girls Club and trains people in aquatics and how to go deep sea diving and stuff like that. So, like, those are the things we need to expose the kids in our community to. And when we talk to our parents and grandparents, they'll talk about how there used to be swim teams that won championships and went to Philly and Baltimore. All of those kind of things help develop young people. Me growing up on the east side, I spent my life in People's Settlement, okay? People's Settlement ain't had no gym, ain't had no swimming pool, ain't had none of those things. Right. But we was in that basement, you know what I mean? And that was our safe haven. We did karate, we did all the sports throughout the city league, whether it was baseball, football, or softball. And we were active in that context, man. And that's what we got to do for our young people. We got to make sure they have programs and resources available to them and keep them active and busy in positive things to develop them instead of them having so much, idle time. And we all know idle time is, the devil's workshop,
Playground. Devil's playground, absolutely. Yeah. Especially in our city, Wilmington, man. Yeah. I think we need to do more, like you said, produce more programs where we can have these, our youth out there having something to do. But here's a question for you. Okay. We talk about it on the podcast. And, we definitely dive into the politics. But I have one more question that's on a political realm, but also on a personal realm, in which we're definitely going to dive into too. Like you said, been at this game for a long time. But what made you want to get involved in? And I don't want to say politics, but because you got to the best thing to be the best politician is you have to be a politician, but then you also have to stand for something and fight for something. Right. So why did you get involved and how do you find that balance?
So I tell this story and people, if you know me, you know it's true. If you don't know me, you're like, wow, really, that's how. So, my passion came from working in the community. One of my childhood best friends, Chris Stevens, his mom ran the East Side Citizens nonprofit on the East Side. So she always had us doing some type of community service on the east side, whether it was cleaning up the street or helping out, just something. We're always busy doing something. And then I grew up in church, and my grandmother was the pastor of our church. So on the weekends, there was always like a homeless feeding or a clothing drive or, things of that sort. So there was always a sense of service and giving back to the community in some context. And it didn't take on a political framework until I came to Del State. So Del State and our poli-sci department, we had a political science club, but we didn't have a college Dem chapter. So when I came to Del State, I started the college Dem chapter. And I was, as the founding president, I did that for 2 years. Then after that, Saran Cade became president. And now Saran Cade is the Secretary of Labor for the state of Delaware.
And he's not even from Delaware.
Right, he's from D.C. Go, all right?
On the football team. He played football. I played football with Cade.
Yeah, beat your feet. Absolutely.
Beat your feet, Fred. He was, anyway, keep going.
So it's like creating those institutions that, again, give people access and exposure. I mean, we were doing voter registration drives, and I was bringing back voter registration drives to Miss Stephanie, who at that time was on city council, now is our state representative. So, those type of things are what we did at Del State. We registered students. We got active. Our dear friend who passed, Mike Feeney, he used to call me YD and call the young Democrats young Darius. But we were hyperly active, man. And so that was how I got involved from there into student government, doing things with men's council and having a lot of fun. And all that just continued to grow and develop. And when we won the MEAC championship, Bo Biden was there to recognize the basketball team that night because his dad was still in D.C. And Bo asked me to help him on his attorney general's race, but I told him I had to go to Memphis to do a race to help out on a political campaign in Tennessee. But it was that conversation that happened at Del State because of Del State's basketball team winning the MEAC championship that was the entree to me helping Bo in his election to attorney general and then working for his dad in the U.S. Senate. But none of that would have happened if my feet were not on what I call holy ground at Delaware State University.
Hornets! That's right, Delaware State University. Right. All right, so talk politics. right? Talk about your initiative, what you stand for, what you're going for, definitely all of that, which is all great. What you're pushing for, okay? So, like I said, I've been knowing you a long time, long time, and to watch this progress that you have made over the years. I mean, we're talking years. Right. Got your foot into politics, and one thing about this podcast, we talk about our main thing is to focus on challenges, adversities that you kind of go through on this journey. And I remember, what was it, when you ran for city council? What was it the year when you ran and you lost? What year was that?
08.
08. What was you running for? I mean,
City council at large.
City council at large.
Yep.
You were running for city council at large, and unfortunately, you didn't win.
Right.
How did you feel after that?
I felt terrible because the goal is to win. You know what I mean? The goal is absolutely to win. Okay?
Absolutely.
And I don't know what feels worse, losing by a lot or losing by a little. Okay, but a loss is a loss, and it became motivation for me to do things better and to implement and execute better. And so that's what I was able to do. And then in 2012, ran for city council and was elected. So it was a failure, but it was a needed and necessary failure for me to be where I am now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And there's lots of challenges that come in people's lives. So like for me, I was a young dad, and so with me making sure that I was able to raise my boys and make sure that they're taken care of. And so now, my oldest son is 18. He graduated from Delaware's early college, high school in May.
Is he going to Del State?
And now he's in the Year Up program. And so
that's a no.
No, he's going to Year Up first. Okay. All right.
Don't get okay.
Yeah. Freshman year. Okay.
Right.
We're going to do it a different way.
Right.
And then my youngest, he'll be 15 on the 28th, and he's in his freshman year at Howard. See.
Listen.
So it's important, man. And like those are things that are part of my story that is separate from politics. And again, people just look at the ribbon cutting. People look at the ribbon cutting and the housing dedication and the guy in the suit. But I'm a regular dude that got regular struggles and challenges like everybody else, and I just work through them. And at the same time, I still want to make my community better.
Absolutely. So keep diving into that. What has up to this date has been your greatest struggle? Or has been your biggest challenge, or even diving in, what has been your biggest failure?
So I would say my biggest struggle or failure or challenge, however you want to define it, is trying to do all the things that I'm passionate about and finding that balance of time. So you never have enough time in the day, and so you gotta prioritize some things. And when I was younger, my priorities weren't in the right place. As I've gotten older, my priorities have been in the right place, and so. I'm happy about where I am in life, man. I mean, I can look back on it and say, well, you was crazy, all right? And there's a whole lot of Del State stories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can't dive into it on this pod.
That define crazy.
We can't dive into it on the pod.
But
all growth stories.
Yeah,
all growth stories.
God's been good to me, man. So.
Amen. All right. Now here's a question. On the flip side of it, what has been your greatest success?
I think my boys absolutely are my greatest success. They have not made the mistakes that I made when I was their age. They're far more focused, and I continue to make sure that they're guided in that direction. But they are my greatest success story, and they are the pride of my life, man.
Look at that, spoken like a true father.
Absolutely,
true father. And I think you said you're a baby pastor now, right? I'll joke with you. Now I see you invite people out to the church on every Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, faith has been a part of my walk. Whether I did it right or did it wrong, it has definitely been an anchor to keep me and lead me and to guide me. And so I think everybody should find that spiritual center. And as a Christian, I have my spiritual center. I'll leave it to others to decide what their faith is going to be or not. Be agnostic, but. That's my conviction. So I'm always going to invite you. If I'm going to invite you out to the barbecue, I'm going to invite you to church too. Yeah. If we can have church and eat, why not do both?
Amen.
Yeah.
All right. Good to see you on the spiritual tip.
Yeah.
Every time I see you be cussing up. I'm playing. We're gonna cut that out. I'm just playing. He don't do that. I'm just kidding. If y'all know him, y'all know him. That's all I'm gonna say.
I can't even laugh on that line. Like, did you just say that?
Don't worry. Nah, I'm just kidding. They know
Yeah.
I'm a jokester. But
Yeah.
you know, all jokes aside, man, I'm proud of you. Where how you've been growing. I'm gonna say that I've been saying that a lot, man. Because my thing is, when you see people you grew up with, when you see people you went to college with, you know, I always say you either moving towards something or you're moving away from something. Either you're getting better or you're getting worse. You rarely stay the same. And if you stay the same, that means you're probably getting worse, and the world around you is getting better.
Right.
So to see where you went from to where you are now, man, I commend you, and I commend a lot of other people. Because I see some people who we grew up with, not only grew up with, you know, in these neighborhoods, but even went to college with. It's like, whoa, what happened? I mean, I love that. It's like that 50 Cent line. Damn, homie. In high school, you was the man, homie.
Right.
What happened to you?
Right.
And I see that all the time, and it's so funny when we grow up. You know how we grew up, where we see crackheads when we was in 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade. And it's so funny that some of those people you were on the bus with have now become those neighborhood crackheads. Have become those people. And it's tough to see, man. And a lot of people fall off. That's why, you know, I've been commending you. All right. Here we go, because I know you got to get out of here. You got to get to the campaign streets. We got 2 days left. September 6th. How are you going to get people out to vote for you? What are you saying? What are you doing? What is your campaign team doing?
So we are out literally today. We lit dropped and door knocked our 11,000th door. We've done 11,000 doors.
11,000 doors?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Who keeps the count?
Huh?
I want to know who's the person who keeps the count.
Oh, the count is the literature, my friend.
Okay.
Because I don't give out literature. You know, grandma would be like, "Oh, baby, let me take one to give it to somebody." I give them something else.
Yeah.
Like we're very anal in that context.
No doubt.
And so every piece of literature has been in a door in the 2nd Senatorial District, and we finished in Riverside, and that's an
In the
important.
daytime.
But that's an important message.
In the daytime, though, right?
It was in the daytime, but it's an important message because most people don't go to Riverside because there's not a high volume of people that turn out to vote. But for my campaign, it's about our progress, and we can't make progress unless we are inclusive and make sure that we're valuing every voter and every individual in the 2nd Senatorial District. It makes, this is a 4-year term, and it would not be, something I could grade as success if Riverside didn't change, if Southbridge didn't change, if Arbor Place didn't change, and all of those are areas in the 2nd Senatorial District that people look over. And it's about connecting people to jobs and employment, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was able to work with the longshoremen during the TWIC card implementation to keep their jobs there, and now with the expansion of the Port of Wilmington and also the expansion at Edgemore plant, we're looking at over 5,000 new jobs that's coming to the Port of Wilmington over the next 10, 15 years. So how do you not prepare your people for those jobs? It's about helping people that have dropped out of school get their GED, get them into a trades school where they can get a trade, where they can be a journeyman as a plumber or a pipe fitter or doing HVAC, and then put them to work. Because if we don't put people in our neighborhood to work, we're going to have the same issues and challenges that plague our neighborhood. So I care about the babies around education, but I care about every adult in the 2nd Senatorial District about putting them to work. Because how can we have summer job programs where we're putting kids to work and they have to go home and pay their electric bill and the cable bill because mom and dad are not working? That's just a backward system. So we have to put parents to work as well. And so whatever programs we can develop, whatever programs we can strengthen to do that is important. And then a lot of things around technology and innovation and finance that our community is not as connected to, like the things that you're doing, is important to expose not just our children to, but to young adults, because every day young adults are playing with technology in their phone, and we have to be the curators of technology in our community that also promotes entrepreneurship, and that's important as well.
You said it, man. I mean, putting people to work, and I see you've been putting in work. So, like I said, you've been in this game for a long time. So, what is the ultimate goal? You gonna run for president? Nah. On the serious note, what is the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal for me is literally building Wakanda in the 2nd Senatorial District. So, when you look at the housing, we are at this. We're celebrating 10 years of the economic downturn, and with that, there was foreclosed homes that the newspaper and the headlines always talked about: the $250,000 home, the $400,000 home in the suburbs. But in our urban core, it was the $50,000 to $60,000 to $120,000 home that people had to walk away from. They lost. And 10 years later, blocks and blocks of our neighborhoods are vacant, abandoned, and blighted. And so we have to direct funds and resources into those communities to create home ownership, to stabilize those communities. You know, people question, you know, why we have crime in certain neighborhoods. I mean, all you got to do is look. You got a tree growing out of a house. You know, you got vacant homes. You know, we got to develop a sense of hope and not hopelessness in the urban core of the city of Wilmington and along the Route 9 corridor. And that's my passion. You know, other people talk about other things, but for me, it's about education, it's about jobs, it's about housing, and it's also about something that not everybody thinks about, which is infrastructure investment. You know, our roads, our sewer system, you know, our electrical grid, all of that stuff is important. We got friends of ours that went to Del State with us, living in Dunleavy. When there's a bad storm, the power goes out. You know, I mean, you go on Newcastle Avenue between 3 and 6 o'clock, you think you on 95 or on 13 because of the traffic jams that you have. So infrastructure investment is important. When it rains hard, Simon's Gardens and Rosegate, there's flooding issues. You know, there's a lot of businesses around the port that have left, not because they wanted to, but there's a septic sewage system there. And so we got to make sure that we modernize our infrastructure so we can put people to work, but also we can be competitive in how we bring business to the second senatorial district and put people to work. That's it.
Like you said, Wakanda. And really quick, because I know you got to go. Building Wakanda in Wilmington, and I know the mayor has a lot to do with that. Is the mayor candidacy possible for you in the future?
So, to be the mayor of the city you grew up in is always an honor. But for me, it is not the end of a story. So that's never my goal. You know, oftentimes people say, Darius, you're great. You know, one day you can be mayor of the city of Wilmington. And even though they're trying to compliment me, what they're really doing is put a limitation on me, saying because you're a young African-American that's bright and articulate, you should lead the city of Wilmington. But there's a state that can also be led. There's a country that can also be led. And I don't want to spend my entire life, 40 years, in elected office. I want to come into elected office, do what I've planned to do, build my community, and then do other things. There's other ways I can contribute outside of having a 40-year career as an elected official. I think that's a disservice to other generations.
So what's the top goal from an elected official?
My top goal is to put residents of the second senatorial district to work. My top goal is to make sure we have world-class education for our children. My top goal is to make sure we address vacant and abandoned housing in the second senatorial district.
Said that, Darius.
My top goal, you asked me what my top goal is. My top goal is to make sure we have criminal justice reform where we don't continue to have the collateral consequences that allows many of our family members to go back into prison every year, every 2 years, but we really make sure that we have the supports and programs and we have the resources available to make sure that they can provide for themselves and their families. We cannot continue to have this same, cycle that we've had in our community. It does not help us. It is broken families. It just does not strengthen or stabilize the neighborhoods in which we live in. So those are the things I'm focused on. I'm not concerned about the next office. I'm not concerned about any of those things. If I do this job, then I'll get another job. Right. You know what I mean?
All right, Darius Brown for governor. It's like I'll say it for you, brother. All jokes aside, we crack a lot of jokes, but I mean that's big, man. And I see that's where your passion is, and definitely keep diving into that. Like I said, I know I gotta get you out, so we're gonna do rapid response. I'm gonna ask you certain questions. You gotta give me the first thing that pops into your head.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's gonna get a little. No, I ain't gonna get crazy. It's real easy. All right, first question. Ready?
Not really. Listen, I know you, okay?
Listen, I know,
right,
and I know you, okay? You know what I mean? Now, first thing, what does this city need most?
I think the thing that this city needs most is to have economic opportunity that reaches into neighborhoods.
What is the biggest problem in the black community?
I think the opportunity we have in the black community is to look at how we can create hope in these neighborhoods. There's a lot of people doing great things in our neighborhoods, right? But there's not any connectivity. So you'll do an Easter egg hunt, and then I'll do an Easter egg hunt. Or you'll do a toy drive, and I'll do a toy drive. But we're not building capacity in our community. And when we build capacity, that means we can leverage resources, which means money, like other people do, and we can really build and develop. I think everyone should have the goal of buying a block in their neighborhood. If we all bought a block and rebuilt a block in our neighborhood, a lot of the problems and challenges we're plagued with would not exist. And so we got to get people to start thinking more about commerce and entrepreneurship and how we can develop or redevelop our neighborhoods.
Amen. All right. What do you think about Nike and Colin Kaepernick?
I think it is a wonderful thing, and I'm going to go buy some more Nike, okay? And I appreciate the message that Nike is sending. I appreciate them giving voice and giving a platform to Colin that he hasn't had in a few years. And, let's all support Colin. Now, I'm an alpha, but I'm going to support this Kappa. Okay?
Now, I know we had a few other candidates come through. We had Tizzy Lockman, and we had Lucretia Roberts running for AG, and Tizzy was running for state senate as well.
Yeah, in the third district.
In the third district.
Yeah, different district.
So if all you guys win, I expect for all you guys to work together.
Absolutely. And in many contexts, we already work together, on a lot of stuff that I talk about around justice reform. Lucretia has been the chief deputy to number 2 in the Delaware Department of Justice. Now she's running to be number 1. So we're going to continue to work together. One of the things that's important about this is the seat that has been held by an African American. There's 21 state senators statewide. There's only been one African American state senator. And so we had our first some 60 years ago, and then 24 years ago, we had our first woman. And so with my election on Thursday, I would be the third African American to serve in the Delaware State Senate in the history of the state. And so, we still have a lot of progress, and we still have a lot of more things that we need to accomplish. But in races like Lucretia's, she would become the first African American and the first woman, first African American woman to be Attorney General. There's a lot of history that we can make on Thursday.
Absolutely. Last question.
Yep.
Really quick. What does taking over your world mean to you?
Taking over my world means focus and execution. And so I've seen you do that. And so I admire that. And I admire you doing it uniquely as Blake, because your family has been very successful. You could have done it a whole lot of different ways, but you were consistent in who you are, whether it was on the football team or some other things. I'll put it that way.
True,
all right.
True.
You have been you. And any event I've ever had, and I asked you to come to, it's amazing how the people at that event always remember who you are, always remember your name, always remember that impression that you left on them. So for me, it's taking over your world. Taking over your world means having focus and execution, man.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a great interview with my friend. Also, I'm a supporter, and he's a supporter of me. So make sure you guys get out September 6th, which will, when this thing airs, will be the next day.
Absolutely.
On this Thursday, September 6th. Make sure you guys get out there so we can vote for the third African American male to hold this seat in state senate. We appreciate you guys. Darius Brown, any other thing? Where can they find you? DariusBrown.com?
You can find me at DariusBrown.com. You can follow me at Vote for Darius, and you can email, tweet, text Blake, and he'll make sure that you get in contact with me, because I know Blake is on his way to D.C. to beat his feet. CCB, 3DB.
So you went back to that, huh? Why you beat your feet?
Familiar faces.
Listen, wait, look, you want to go there?
I'm just trying to figure it
Don't
out.
make me pull
this
your
man
card.
used to be in the old Milk and the old MLK with the wall sweating, okay? Yes!
Hey, man, we ain't sweating no more, man. We out of here. Darius Brown, break the brain. Oh, I can't even get it out, man. He got me sweating my own technique. This has been the Taking Over the World podcast, September 6th. Make sure you get out and vote. Cheer.
All right.
My man.
Appreciate
Good
you,
stuff,
man.
brother.